Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Fanfic. Fanfic is a Polish teen drama that tells the story of Tosia, a high school student who has a hard time fitting in and dealing with various personal problems as the school year starts. She meets a fellow student named Leon who she slowly strikes a relationship with on account of their dispositions as outcasts. One night while attending a party, Tosia becomes enamored with male clothing while wearing them and decides to change identity from woman to man, therefore becoming Tojek. He must then deal with the many issues that come with identifying as a trans man while sorting out his feelings for Leon. Although this movie would certainly resonate better with a more specific demographic than myself, I still found it to be average in general. It has some interesting things to say about promoting the inclusion of trans youth in and outside of school, but at the end of the day, it wasn't much more than another young adult story of self-discovery. Tosia, who later becomes Tojek as events proceed, was an okay character for the purposes of the story. She has enough on her plate to deal with as a woman, with things like sexual harassment, self-harm, and a tragic family backstory having a clear effect on her, so when she discovers her identity as a man, that becomes another matter entirely. With so many problems in his life, it's not difficult to sympathize with Tojek. The actor does a good job communicating the effects that everything has on Tojek's mental health, as well as the resilience he demonstrates in spite of everything that he goes up against. He exudes an unapologetic confidence before and after he transitions, which makes it easier to connect with him. One element of his character I took issue with, though, was the way he engaged in fanfiction throughout the story. Whenever Tojek experiences some sort of hardship, he turns to writing about it in a form of fanfiction inspired by Cinderella, and I found this concept to be a bit iffy in its implementation. On one hand, I do like the variety the fanfics add to the story with just how unique and stylish they are. They provide a break from the more depressing parts of the story by adding a dash of humor, while also clearly serving as a way for Tojek to escape reality, change it how he sees fit, and generally cope with the stresses of life. On the other hand, though, I found that more often than not, they tended to disrupt the pacing of the story with how sudden they are. At a certain point in the movie, the fanfic elements just straight up disappear once Tojek becomes more confident in his identity, and then all of a sudden they start showing up again, and usually for only a split second or two, which made me question why they were there anymore. Throughout the movie, Tojek bonds with his love interest Leon, who turns out to be gay. This was another part of the movie that felt half-baked in execution, because while Leon isn't necessarily a bad character, there's just nothing remarkable about him at all. Details about his personal life aren't revealed until much later in the movie, and they rarely impact the story that much anyway. I like the bond the two share and how Leon being a gay man has an influence in shaping Tojek's identity, but outside of this, their romance is quite formulaic, with a love triangle lazily thrown in later on that fails to add any novelty or tension to the story. The rest of the characters aren't even worth mentioning. They're all cookie-cutter templates anyone might see in any other average high school drama, from a school bully to a nerdy girl, and everything else in between. For as many characters as there are, they all exist only to force conflict into the story when necessary, and never have agency otherwise. This leads to the movie's portrayal of high school characters and life in general, which outside of the bland characterization I actually found to be relatively accurate. While Tojek deals with hostility from fellow students and even teachers at times, other students also experience bullying and conflict as well. This helped create a sense of community within the school that grows the more comfortable Tojek becomes in his own skin as he finds himself connecting more with others. For as shallow as the characters could be, they at least added some degree of realism to the story and rarely came off as caricatures. I say rarely because there are times where this does happen. The students engage in a lot of banter directed toward teachers and other students. While this makes sense at some level considering their age, their attitudes often came off as hammy or silly, made it harder to sympathize with them, and took me out of the movie, especially if it involved students talking back to teachers. At the risk of sounding controversial, I was a bit surprised with how fast Tojek came to discover his identity. It doesn't seem like he puts much thought into the feeling he experiences with the idea of being a man, aside from just putting on male-designated clothing, which I feel could have been done at any point in his life. However, I say this because I have absolutely no idea what goes on in the mind of someone who identifies as a trans man, and in fairness, this movie does offer unique observations on this front. It explores the way men and women are gendered in various ways, from the clothes they wear to the types of etiquette they're expected to have, and it's interesting to see Tojek navigate both sides of this issue. But while it's intriguing to see Tojek explore his identity and people suddenly discovering who they are isn't unheard of, I still can't help but feel his identity is determined too quickly. It feels like at a certain point that the movie loses its focus on Tojek and just tells whatever story it feels like telling. A girl gets criticized for being beautiful, a boy deals with an overbearing father, and there's some sort of LGBT club that never gets any real focus despite being a great potential arc to involve Tojek in. The movie jumps all over the place place, and that's when things are even happening. The other part of the problem occurs with the various filler montage scenes where teens just listen to music, talk, or dance, and not do much else. I get that it's meant to show the various facets of high school life and the array of activities and problems that come with it, but the whole point of the movie is meant to show Tojek and him coming to terms with his transgender identity. Showing so much other stuff takes attention away from the main story at hand. This being said, I can appreciate the more dark and mature manner in which it presents high school and LGBT issues. Most of what Tojek goes through is taken seriously, even if not fully understood by others, and the stylish cinematography contributes to this dark tone at times as well. When one gets right down to it though, even with the LGBT distinction, it's just another average high school drama about a teenager discovering who they are as a person, and one that doesn't have much novelty or enthusiasm behind it. I wish I could praise it more for covering LGBT issues, but for me personally, it lacked a certain something to make it stand out more. Overall, Fanfic is a decent but ultimately forgettable LGBT drama that has some merit, but feels flaky in terms of commitment to its premise. If you like LGBT-themed dramas that are oriented toward high school themes and can tolerate bland characters, you might enjoy watching this. As I said before, I'm not exactly the target audience for this movie, so I'm definitely going to miss out on some key context regarding its themes, but I still found myself wanting more from it, although I can appreciate how mature it is and how it handles its topics. It is better than most fanfiction out there, but not by a whole lot. What did you think about this movie? Did you think it was an accurate portrayal of a high school transgender student, or did you find it to be disappointing instead? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Fanfic. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the French comedy Asterix and Obelix, The Middle Kingdom. Bye bye!